indie book review, where today I am reviewing Hallucinatory Tribulation by Sahreth, Baphy, Bowden. Now, this is a short story collection, which, frankly, I don't do very many of, and it's for a reason. I find them very hard to review, because there's no real general plot. There's several of them, and the plots are typically small and compact and easy to do. So, this is really just going to be a very quick and easy review, because I don't want to get into all the stories, because I'll get into that in just a bit. So, first of all, these short stories are very personal. You can definitely tell that, and actually it's even straight up stated, that some of these short stories come from the author's personal experience with mental health. And that's actually kind of a major factor and a major point in the majority of the stories is mental health, especially along the lines of schizophrenia, which the author does have. He's very open about it on his profile pages, like even on his YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, by the way. But regardless, it's a very huge point throughout these stories. And while it's not in all of them, mental health does play a major point in pretty much the majority of them. So with that said, does that mean that these stories are hard to get into? No. No, they are not. These are actually fairly easy to read stories. Some of them are definitely a little harsher than others, which actually was something that I genuinely enjoyed. Because, well, all in all, I would actually kind of claim this as a psychological thriller, horror short story collection sort of thing. And, well, I've said it before in previous reviews, I don't have a lot of faith in the horror genre. Mostly because it doesn't have a lot to offer. I mean, let's face it, most horror movies and books have been telling mostly just the same stories over and over and over again, and they've been relying on the cheap jump scares and just cheap gimmicks all the time. And this one doesn't. This one, the horror definitely comes from a more human element, which I definitely appreciate. I love it when horror comes from something more human, something more within, something that can be fought, but isn't. And I love that. Like, not all of these stories are within the realm of reality. Like, there are some supernatural elements, and that still doesn't take away from how grounded they are, and how much of a horror feeling that a person can get through reading these stories. And that's actually really cool, because I love enjoying a genre that I, A, don't particularly have a lot of enjoyment in to begin with, or B, don't have a lot of faith in. I love it when I read a romance novel that I actually enjoy. I love it when I read a YA novel that I just can't put down. And I love it when I find horror or thriller that I just can't put down, that I absolutely love. And this one blew me away. I don't think there's a short story in this that I did not like. There were a couple that I didn't find were quite as strong as the others, but that doesn't mean that they're not strong in their own sense. Like, there's a story at the very end about transgenderism, which didn't have much in the way of horror to it, but that didn't make it less poignant. It didn't make it any less hard-hitting. It just hit in a different way. There's one with demons in it, which honestly didn't hit me in the same way that, say, the person tracking down the school shooter did. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that the short story was bad, or in any shape, way, or form. It didn't mean that I didn't enjoy it. It was just not as strong as the others, and you're going to find that regardless of short story collections. You're always going to have those short stories that just aren't as strong as the others, and you kind of need those, because they're very good breathing stories. They're the sort that you can just sit back, you can read them, you can breathe a little bit, knowing that you're going to get into something a little more horrifying later on. And I appreciate the hell out of any short story collection that can just make me do that. That when a short story is not as strong as the others or as scary as the others, I'm still loving it. I'm still enjoying it because A, it holds up on its own, and B, I know I'm going to get something scary later. So, I loved it. The short story collection is fantastic. It should be read by more people, and I hope that you as my viewers pick it up and read it, because it is a masterwork of psychological horror in terms of both mental health, transgenderism, schizophrenia, so on and so forth, and just down to earth human issues. So all in all, I'm going to give Hallucinatory Tribulation a 9.5 out of 10. This was absolutely fantastic. It's something that people should be reading more of. And honestly, this author just continues to blow me away every time. I love his work. So, pick this book up. You won't regret it.